Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. If you can hear this, this means we are resuming our schedule for this promising forum at the moment. Hopefully you've enjoyed your coffee, your muffins, and your small sandwiches from the outside. And the best is yet to come as we come closer to lunchtime. Of course, I'm just killing time until we have more increased number into the hall, that is all. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to our second panel discussion of the day. This panel will explore the following title: the Fourth Industrial Revolution and Being Future-Proof, with 4 prominent experts in government administration from around the world to exchange knowledge and expertise and explore the requirements necessary to ensure flexible governments. Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who have registered for the next workshop covering the topic Towards the Next 50, Aligning Strategies and Performance Management by the Emirates Center for Government Knowledge, please know that it will start at 11 a.m., which is probably by now, in the Al Amwaj meeting room. So for our panel discussion once again, our moderator will be introducing the panelists. So please, join me in welcoming, as we introduce the Advisor for Economic Policy Research at MBRSG, Dr. Denise Gossage. Please welcome her.
Can you hear me? Yeah. Welcome, everyone, to the second panel on the Fourth Industrial Revolution and Being Future-Proof. I'd like to start this panel with a quote by the founder and chairman of the World Economic Forum, Professor Charles Schwab, who in 2016 at Davos said the following: "We stand on the brink of a technological revolution that will fundamentally alter the way we live, work, and relate to one another. In its scale, scope, and complexity, the transformation will be unlike anything humankind has experienced before." And as you can see on the screen, a little lesson in history, the first industrial revolution used water and steam power to mechanize production. The second used electric power to create mass production. The third used electronics and IT to automate production. And now, a fourth industrial revolution is building on the third, characterized by new technologies such as artificial intelligence, blockchain, and Internet of Things that are fusing the physical, digital, and biological worlds, disrupting industries across the globe and even challenging ideas about what it means to be human. The objective of this panel is to explore some of the new challenges for the government in the fourth industrial revolution. So how can we address those challenges and seize the opportunities? So I'd like to introduce our distinguished panelists. We have Dr. Saeed AlMatrooshi, who is the Secretary General at Ajman Executive Council. Marten Kaveats, who is the Digital Advisor for the Government of Estonia. We have Massimo Falcioni, who is the CEO of Etihad Credit Insurance, the UAE's export credit agency. And Professor Ahmed Benraouane, who is, can we have the names back on the screen as well, please? Who is the chair of the US ISO Working Group on Innovation and also advises MENA governments and Dubai Police on innovation and future foresight. Welcome. So let's talk first about the fourth industrial revolution for government. So how is the government harnessing these new technologies to better serve citizens or to drive development? If I can come to you, Dr. Saeed, what is the vision of the UAE government when it comes to these new technologies?
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. ملاحظة فقط الحضور راح أتحدث باللغة العربية. دولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة حقيقة يعني من الدول السباقة في أن هي تضع خطط للمستقبل وخطط طموحة. الكل يعرف أن احنا اليوم يعني في دولة الإمارات أعلنا عن خطة دولة الإمارات للاستعداد لل50، وهذه جرأة يعني ما نشوفها في كثير من دول العالم، أن كيف ممكن دول تضع خطط لل50 سنة القادمة. دولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة، وردا على السؤال، هي من الدول اللي كانت دائما تضع في يعني نصب عينيها مسألة الاستفادة من التكنولوجيا الموجودة اليوم في العالم وتطبيقها في القطاع الحكومي مثل ما تطبق في القطاع الخاص. لذلك شفنا كثير من الممارسات في دولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة الفترة الأخيرة فيها مسألة البلوك تشين، موضوع المسرعات الحكومية، موضوع كذلك اللي هو الاستشراف المستقبل. لكن حتى نكون صريحين مع نفسنا، أعتقد أن احنا لازلنا اليوم في بداية الرحلة هذه اللي هي رحلة الثورة الصناعية الرابعة، ودولة الإمارات المشجع عنها من الدول التي لم يغب عن بالها الاستفادة من هذه الثورة، وفي هناك خطط واضحة وطموحة ممكن نشوفها في وجود مؤسسات حكومية معنية بهذا الموضوع، وجود وزير معني بهذا الملف، وجود برامج تدريبية وتعليمية في دولة الإمارات مخصصة لهذه الثورة بالذات. وبالتالي احنا نحس أن في دولة الإمارات العربية المتحدة الحمد لله هناك تحرك، لكن نرد ونقول أن التحدي دائما أن احنا نكون سباقين. التحدي في دولة الإمارات أن ناخذ هذه المسألة على أنها مسألة راح تعزز تنافسيتنا بين دول المنطقة وتخلينا قادرين على الوصول لرؤية دولة الإمارات في أن نكون من أفضل دول العالم إن شاء الله.
Sid, if I can come to you, please. You advise the Dubai police on innovation and digital transformation. Can you share a bit about what Dubai police are doing when it comes to advanced technologies such as AI and blockchain?
Thank you, Denise. شكرا الإخوة الكرام. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين. Thank you for inviting me. It's been an honor for me to be here, but also to work with UAE government and Dubai government, particularly Dubai police. And at Dubai police, we've been very busy for the last 3 years, for the last 5 years, I would say, trying to figure out what would be the future of policing and digital transformation and how we can make Dubai and the UAE one of the most important agencies that adjust to this radical transformation. I like to use the quote from one of the leaders in the US, Jeffrey Ahmed, who is the former CEO and chairman of GE, who says, if you went to bed as an industrial company, you're going to wake up as an analytical and internet company. And that's a very profound quote, because it gives you an idea about how fast and how radical and how rapid the change and the transformation is taking place in today's world. Of course, if you want to be the first, you cannot miss on these transformations. And this is what we have been doing at Dubai. This is what at Dubai Police, this is what we have been training our officers and our people to do. I'll share with you 3 applications that are transformative in nature, and they are including integrating artificial intelligence. Take, for instance, the SPS, the Smart Police Station. If you think of the business model of policing, it has not changed for the last 5 centuries. What do you have? You have someone who has a uniform, who has a gun, who's vested by authority to solve problems. We came to this business model and we said, let's change that. We can actually, with technology, with artificial intelligence, but more importantly with the UAE vision, we can actually change the model for policing. We can actually induce that change, and we built those SPS, smart police stations, which is basically a place where you can walk in with 0 police officer. You do all the things that you need to do, from paying a fine to talking to a police officer without interacting with any person. That's a radical change when it comes to police work. We call this police as a service by opposition to police as a station. We also, if you go to our app, you will find actually a chat bot. It's called Amna, and Amna in Arabic means safety. It's an Arabic name. And what it does, you can do all the things that you need to do with Dubai Police using that chatbot. You don't have, if you choose not to, you don't have to interact with a person. And then you have this trend that we have in police around the world, police work around the world, which is predictive analytics. Predictive analytics, it's simply looking at your data, looking at your past data, and try to predict where, for instance, a traffic accident would happen. So we look at our traffic management system, and we say if there are more people coming to this event, most likely at 60%, 70%, there will be some sort of people who will be delayed, some people, maybe some accidents, some trouble. So we redistribute our resources based on this data. So these are very simple examples that we have decided Dubai Police to integrate, so we're able to change the way police force work in the world.
Okay, thank you. Martin, if I can come to you, because I know that Estonia is known to be probably the most advanced government in the world when it comes to digital government. But looking to the future now, because I know that's something that Estonia has been working on for the last decade at least, when it comes to these exponential technologies, what is the future for Estonia? And can you please share your views on what you call invisible government?
So, hello everybody from my side as well. I think one of the systemic problems we are all facing is that all our governance architecture is based in a time where information moved in a very different way. One of the main lessons learned from the 25 years in building a digital governance in Estonia is that this actually has got almost nothing or very little to do with technology, and everything to do with building a culture and mindset for openness, for experimentation, for innovation. And building a culture that is, this is not a technological question. And currently, when we see all of these buzzword technologies popping up and changing, the systemic problem is that technologies and the citizens' expectations keep changing faster than our governance or systems of governing can, or more even individual way. Our brains have not evolved to change so fast and that our surroundings are doing. So in order to combat this, in Estonia we have built a very robust and adaptive governance system. In Estonia it's based on a distributed architecture. More or less this means that we do not have big brother in Estonia. We only have small brother, but smaller brothers you can beat up because you're bigger. But this is also, I think, the key element to the success of the Estonian ecosystem. So in order to build innovative solutions, you need to build individual responsibilities. Each of the civil servants or persons who is managing a particular task or a service is actually fully responsible of it. Does not necessarily need to ask his or her superior for everything. And if you give that amount of strategic, let's say, power to the individual in the bureaucratic architecture way, then you can actually build adaptive governance. But currently, when we are living in a time where technologies keep changing faster than our systems can, we also see in the Estonian context that our current architecture is not enough because those changes, if we look at, for example, towards synthetic biology or quantum computing, then basically rather quickly our cognitive mind will fill up and we cannot compute all of the different versions. So we cannot predict the future, but what we can do is to build governance systems in a way that they could adapt to those kind of changes, whichever kind of changes they might be. So might it be technological or cultural or climate or social or financial? It's about building adaptive governance. In that quest, Estonia has been basically together with our brothers in arms, the Finnish people, our neighbors. We are currently completely redesigning our back-end architecture so that this kind of more adaptive governance making could take place. And again, the main lesson learned here is the way you move information between government entities or different organizations within the ecosystem starts to affect the way people think, how administration is done. But this is a process that cannot be deployed within a year or within 5 years. This is a process of 10, 15, 20 years. And only then you can see the results. And basically, currently, we are building for the governance architecture that will happen in 15 to 20 years, which hopefully will be as adaptive as theoretically possible.
Thank you, Marten. Massimo, you work for a very specific part of the government. So as the CEO of the UAE's Export Credit Agency, your mandate is to boost trade and investment. So how can the government use these new technologies to boost trade and investment?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Firstly, let's go to see, let's explain a little bit what an export credit agency does. And so it becomes more clear how we can use technology. So an ECA is a facilitator and has to ease trade and investment inside and outside the country. Of course, the main focus is for export because export gives a high contribution to the local economy. Exporting companies employ more people, so it's give a positive impact to the economy and employment, and usually they are also more innovative and more productive. So the contribution of export to an economy is a key point of sustainability. So for us, we started in February 2018, and we have to create the Export Credit Agency for the UAE. It was an amazing challenge, because the challenge given by the chairman, His Highness Sheikh Hamdan bin Rashid Al Maktoum, the Minister of Finance and Deputy Ruler of Dubai, was to be the number one in the world. Now, we can see from many angles how to become number one. The first ECA has been built 101 years ago, in 1919 actually, in the UK. So it was a very big challenge. And the first thing we look at in order to be the number one was, what is our mandate? How can we ease trade and investment from this country abroad to expand? So we see that one key point in these challenging times was to create confidence. Create confidence between a seller and a buyer. Create confidence for an investor to get funding, to get the finance from the banks. So we work hard to see how we could do this in an innovative way. For sure, artificial intelligence is one key element which is disruptive in our business. How it works today? Today, usually information analysts, so a human being, look at financials of a company, maybe overseas, and based on his personal analysis, he understand which could be the creditworthiness of a company, and we decide a credit limit so that a company in the UAE can sell on credit to this company overseas based on the credit limit we have decided. Now, this is an activity which, of course, has to be fed with additional information. The situation of creditworthiness change continuously. So the idea was, how can we do this? Working 24/7, making many scenarios, predictive scenarios, and having a lot of information coming from multiple sources, not only the financial reports. If you look at companies, for instance, based in some countries, if you look at Africa, which is a major opportunity, not all of them have financials available or published. So how could we do that? So artificial intelligence came to support us. So we are working to develop algorithms which can help us to process an enormous quantity of data, and by doing this, we can predict scenarios to better assess the creditworthiness of the companies. By doing this, we can give much more to the exporters in terms of credit limits. This is an example. The other important thing we work on, still to create confidence, was to create a secure environment where the seller and the buyer are well known and the transactions are secured. So we are working in Dubai with Dubai Trade and in Abu Dhabi with Abu Dhabi Global Market to create a blockchain platform where sellers and buyers are well known, transactions are automatically secured, and also financed by the banks. So we remove all those problems and issues that sometimes exporters might find to find financing or to find trust with sellers, buyers, which they don't know, so that they start selling on cash or letter of credit, which might be lengthy and costly. So all these kind of things generate confidence. So by doing this, using technology, but to create confidence, which is a very typical human thing, we are really making the difference in the ecosystem. When we presented this objective to other ECAs worldwide, even the oldest, they said, wow, we didn't think to change the way we were doing this since 100 years. Maybe we should think about that. And now we are trying to inspire them as well. Of course, we have just at the beginning of a journey. Algorithms have not yet been created to do this. So we are working in order to make this hand in hand. And it's an ongoing work we do every day.
Okay. So we've spoken about the fourth industrial revolution for government. So how is the government utilizing these new technologies to serve citizens or to boost trade and investment? But the government also has a critical role to play in setting the conditions that enable the private sector businesses to thrive in the fourth industrial revolution whilst protecting citizens and protecting the environment. So one of the key challenges is regulation, keeping pace with the unprecedented rapid changes in technology. So if we take artificial intelligence, for example, which we know can have a huge impact across almost all sectors of the economy, but also poses huge public risks, how do we even start to think about regulating AI? Martin, if I can come to you, because I know that Estonia is doing a lot in this regard.
Yeah, I happen to start Estonian AI strategy and policy, and currently we have 25 live AI applications within the public sector, and another 50 coming up within half a year. So there is quite a lot of practical experience in small, narrow AI use cases. These are very simple cases. And of course, with the case of, for example, self-driving cars, we currently in Estonia have about 6 different projects that some groups of Estonians are trying to build their own vehicles and platforms, for example. Of course, the legal issue is there. It's a super complex thing because in Estonia, for us as a country, our main goal is more or less, if we look at the global domain today, we see China doing centralized governmental control information systems. We see US building quasi-decentral corporate control information systems, basically Facebook's, Google's, and the Chinese government. But our mission in Estonia with the European Union is stepping slowly towards a more human-centric governance. But I would argue that Estonia, together with Finland, currently has more or less the most robust system to do that. Why is this important in regulating AI? Because we are set in a principle that I am the owner of my own information. The data governance of the architecture comes from this principle. So now when we go into the age of AI and we see lots of this new fancy gadgetry popping up, and we can actually deploy and we can probably automate all, like, let's say 95% of all bureaucratic routines within the next 8 years. If you can imagine a world without any regular routine bureaucracy, then we are about to achieve that. That's the concept of the invisible government, or the idea of seamless state, the idea when you are entitled of getting something from the government, you get it automatically. It's based on proactive and automated services. But again, the backstory is the legal side. The ethical side, how do you actually do it? Currently, we've been working on this issue for a while, currently 2.5 years. We started with the idea of giving algorithms separate legal entity status. Currently, again, the more conservative side of the lawyers won this battle, so we are not working on granting legal personhood to algorithms. But what we are doing is making a rather complex, intricate changes in systems, but a simple answer, if usually people are looking at who is guilty, then simple answer is government is. But it's not as simple as it sounds, because governments also, by taking the guilt in a way, hopefully will also build a quite interesting and way of learning. So the idea is that when something happens, for example with a self-driving car, then we will able to solve that particular incident within 5 minutes after it happened, based on information of which integrity we can be sure of. But that information of this incident or accident will be put into, let's say, driving school, a library of driving school, so that all cars that drive around Estonia would immediately go through a new lesson in the driving school and never make the exact same mistake again. So we can actually build a mechanism that constantly reinforces learning new things by also taking responsibilities within the government side.
Thank you. I've learned that we need to finish the panel 15 minutes early to make way for the official opening ceremony. So if I can ask all the panelists to be slightly more brief than you'd intended as we move forward. Just to briefly touch on talent. So another key challenge for the government is the looming employment crisis that we hear about, in which many jobs are going to be lost, altered and replaced. So Massimo, just very, very briefly, in your view, are humans going to be replaced by machines?
I don't think so. I think humans cannot be replaced by machines at all. And in the example I mentioned you before regarding artificial intelligence usage, for instance, in our specific industry of the Export Credit Agency, I see different roles of the humans. Actually, if you go back to what said before, we have a credit analyst who spent 80% of his time gathering information. With AI, actually processing automatically this information from multiple sources, we can have human beings doing more analysis rather than data gathering. So for sure, in the short term, as soon as the artificial intelligence or the new technology steps in, it is very important to manage this, so with proper skills, because everybody will be requested to go outside its comfort zone. Maybe one gentleman, again, in our industry, a credit analyst, a risk underwriter, was using to do a job in one way, and now he has to learn to do it in a different way. So in order not to lose jobs, it's very important training and education of the new tools, of the new technology. So keep every time the organization updated with the evolution. That's it.
Thank you. So we've talked about some very serious challenges for the government in terms of regulation, in terms of talent. And we know that the government needs to be agile. But do our governance systems actually support agility? And I'm thinking around things like organizational structure, decision-making processes, collaboration models. Sid, if I can ask you just briefly, how agile is the government, and how do we even start to think about that?
I think this is one of the most important challenges that we're going to face, which is allowing decision makers to think about agility. First of all, define agility. Agility is a mindset. And in thinking about agility at Dubai Police, what we have been working for the last months is to develop a framework that would allow you and allow our managers to think in an agile way. And we framed this framework in terms of CUPs. A CUP in English is a police officer, obviously, and a CUP is simply an acronym for 5 things that you have to do, 5 dimensions: culture, people, process, structure, and strategy. If you think about all these things and you have a framework that allows you to measure or to get a sense about how agile your organization is, most likely you will be successful. And for each dimension, there are a few questions that you have to ask. Let me just pick one, which is the culture, the most challenging one, as it has been said earlier. Does your culture embrace a change, yes or no? That's question 1. Question 2, is your leadership, senior leadership, engaged in activities that predict and anticipate a change? If you are able to measure, or if you are able to infuse those values into your organizations, then you are on your way to become an agile agency.
Excellent, thank you. Dr. Saeed, if I can come to you. I know you're known to be very candid in these panels. Can I ask you, what do you think the government needs to change?
الحكومات في الوقت الحالي حقيقة يعني أنا ببدأ بحاجتين. المسألة الأولى، الخبر الجيد أن احنا نعلم أن الوضع الحالي هو الوضع الغير مرغوب فيه. يعني كثير من حكوماتنا وأدائنا الحكومي بطيء صعب، في تعقيدات كثيرة، وهذا ما راح يساعدنا في الفترة الزمنية القادمة اللي هي نتكلم فيها عن الحكومات المرنة والأداء المرن. المشكلة اللي نعاني منها وراح نعاني منها بشكل أكبر في المستقبل أن التكنولوجيا اللي بتدخل في السوق متقدمة بسرعة شديدة، وأدائنا الحكومي بطيء، ما راح يتفاعل معاها بشكل جيد. ناخذ وقت طويل عشان نتخذ قرار، عندنا تعقيدات، عندنا دائما حبنا لأن احنا نكون اللي نحتضن التغيير ونحتضن الحماية ونعمل هذه الأمور كلها. لكن إذا كنا نبغي نكون مرنين في الفترة القادمة، لازم الحكومة تبدأ تعطي نوع من السلطة حق قطاعات أخرى. فيما يخص الذكاء الاصطناعي أو غيره من هذه الأمور، لن تكون الحكومة في يوم من الأيام قادرة على أن هي تتصدى لكل المشاكل اللي نواجهها بدخول تكنولوجيا حديثة. وبالتالي الفكرة الأنسب أن احنا نبدأ نفكر كيف نجعل من القطاع الخاص شريك حكومي، هو يكون نقطة خلينا نقول اكتشاف لبعض الممارسات اللي ممكن تضر المجتمع. كيف ممكن نجعل من القطاع الأكاديمي قطاع مساند للحكومة في التعامل مع التكنولوجيات الحديثة، في التعامل مع التغيرات اللي تصير. الحكومة نفسها محتاجة أن هي تكون أكثر مرونة وأكثر قدرة على أن هي تتفاعل مع التغيرات اللي صايرة. هذه واحدة من المسائل الأساسية. المسألة الثانية اللي تتعلق بالأداء الحكومي وكيف ممكن نتعامل مع التغيرات المستقبلية هي القدرات اللي موجودة داخل الحكومة. العالم كله اليوم يتغير. احنا حقيقة مسألة التعامل مع البيانات لازلنا نعتقد أن في دولة الإمارات نبذل جهد كبير، لكن محتاجين أن نبذل جهد أكبر. نعمل تنازلات شوي فيما يخص اللي هو يعني بعض المؤسسات الحكومية لا زالت في العقلية القديمة في مسألة اللي هو حماية بياناتها وعدم مشاركتها مع الآخرين، وللأسف حتى عدم مشاركتها مع المؤسسات الحكومية المعنية معها. هذه الأمور تجعل الحكومة تحدي كبير في التعامل مع البيانات في الفترة الحالية وفي التعامل مع الثورة الصناعية الرابعة. ممكن أنهي هذه الفقرة فقط بالحديث حول مسألة اللي هو مرونة التشريعات في الفترة القادمة. والنقطة اللي أبغى أركز عليها أن بعد يعني هذه التجربة في العمل الحكومي، أعتقد أن احنا محتاجين نعيد النظر في مسألة متى نستخدم الأداة التشريعية. كثير من موظفينا الحكوميين وخاصة في قطاع الشؤون القانونية أو التشريعية دائما يعتقدون أن الحل راح يكون في التشريعات، وبالعادة التشريعات تعقد، تصعب، تبطئ، وما تحل المشكلة. وكثير من الأحيان بعد ما نصدر التشريع ما نشوف الأثر التشريعي، ما نشوف هل التشريع حل المشكلة ولا ما حلها، ما نشوف أن هل التشريع أصلا من الأساس في التصميم كان يراعي طلبات المجتمع والناس المعنيين ولا ما كان يراعيها. وبالتالي كانت أحيانا الحكومة تأخذ أدوار متعددة، منها أنهم يعني نوعا ما الستيك هولدرز أو إحنا نقول لهم أصحاب المصلحة ما كانوا موجودين في صلب عملية تصميم السياسات الحكومية والتشريعات الحكومية. التوصية أن نعمل مشاركة أكبر للمجتمع في تصميم السياسات والتشريعات الحكومية، نعطي سلطة لبعض مؤسسات المجتمع والقطاع الخاص في أنهم ينظمون شؤونهم بدل ما تتدخل الحكومة، نخفف من التشريعات والأنظمة الحكومية، ونعتمد على المؤسسات الزميلة للحكومة مثل المؤسسات الأكاديمية، مؤسسات المجتمع، ومؤسسات القطاع الخاص.
So, as we all know, the year 2020 has been declared by our leaders as the year of preparation for the next 50 years, to make the UAE the best country in the world by 2071, the centennial. So, the last question for the panel, and we have around 12 minutes left, is to ask you, what do you think will be the next industrial revolution or revolutions, and how should the government prepare? Martin, I'll come to you first.
So I think we're in the brink where we actually need to fully reconfigure our governance systems, because current methods of hierarchy will not withstand the changes how it's done. And innovation is not going to happen in corridors of bureaucracy. It's about changing this. I think hopefully the next revolution will less focus on the tools that make this change happen, because currently I see governance all around the world emphasizing on different technological gadgetry rather than the systemic change. This is nothing or very little to do with technology. It's about actually building a society that's different. I hope that this change, this revolution, will help us as humans to become more empathic, to understand each other, to have less hate through understanding the other one. And hopefully we will also, during the global issues that we face all together here in UAE, in Dubai, in Estonia, in China, all around the world, hopefully build a system that actually can govern this. With small efforts, I'm also helping to do this. I'm also responsible for WHO, or World Health Organization, technical architecture, how to build governance in the health domain, for example. So in order to do that, the main trick is that people should have more individual responsibilities, their organization, and we should have lesser hierarchies to be more flexible and adaptive. And the vision for governance would look like a flock of birds flying. The basic baseline interaction for those 1,000 birds flying is actually very simple. If I see an eagle coming, I will tell you, and you tell the next people. But if there's 3 birds flying, then it's a very simple thing. But if there's 1,000 or 2,000 birds, then we can see governance systems constantly changing and adapting. In Estonia, we will be able to demo that within the next 8 to 10 years.
Thank you. If I can come to you, Sid, with the same question.
I think the next revolution has to happen with our mindsets. A lot of changes has been happening in the last 10, 15 years. I think it's important that we give chance to people in the government to digest and to adjust to those changes. I think the most important challenge we have is how can we use those tools and those applications, those technologies, to understand better our customers, to understand our citizens, to understand the challenges we face as a society and as a humanity. And that leads me to another idea I wanted to share with you, which goes back to the question you asked earlier about, are robots going to replace humans? Well, I would say this: if you are going to compete with a robot, most likely you will lose your job. But if you go back to your humanity, if you go back to your compassion, if you go back to what makes you human by opposition to a robot, most likely you will replace the robot. You will always have the overhand over a robot. So it's important that we go back to our communities, we go back to what makes us as a human, and adjust and absorb those technological transformational ideas that we have, so we're able to prepare them. This is what we have been doing at Dubai Police, is how we can humanize, if you will, the relationship between a government agency and the citizen. This is how we are exploiting those technological breakthroughs, so they do not become a challenge, an obstacle for the citizen, but rather a mean of engagement in what matters for the community.
Thank you. Massimo, if I can come to you, the same question.
Challenging to predict the next industrial revolution 50 years, because actually to do that we should remove the glasses we have every day to see. We are very, busy with everyday activity, and if we need to look forward, we need to remove what is around us today and really challenge ourselves and try to see a different society. I think that the real revolution, firstly, as you see from the graph, every revolution arrived shorter time. So first one was more than 100 years, then 100, 50. So maybe in 50 years there will be more than one revolution. This is the first thing I can say. Second thing is that presumably we will go back to the basics, to origins, so maybe to the human beings. So it will be a revolution where the society, really the centric element of the society is the humans. And I see women a strong contribution to do that. I see them to be the protagonists to do that, because with their sensitiveness, and they will, support to create societies which are based mostly on what is around a human being. And it's not, a surprise to see the interest on the health environment now in order to be sustainable world society. A lot of investments and activities in order to make a work balance, better alignment. Yeah, and also I see, I heard recently a research saying that even the men are finding the same issues that the women had in the past in terms of work balance. You see, so we are all the same. Actually, all the activities will put us at the same needs, absolutely, where the ultimate goal is to have mostly a more human-centric society. This is maybe, so there will be no technology, no IT, no mobiles, no big data understanding. It's more what is around the human beings. This, I think, will be the next revolution.
Thank you. Dr. Saeed, we have 5 minutes left. If I can ask you to close the panel with your thoughts on the next 50 years and how the government can prepare.
ممكن أحكي لكم قصة أنا عن حديث دار بيننا في أروقة بعض المؤسسات الحكومية. هل نحن قادرين على تخيل ال50 سنة القادمة؟ ترى هذا هو السؤال الصعب. بالعادة احنا نبني تخيلاتنا على ما نملكه اليوم من بيانات ومن خلينا نقول حيز من التفكير ومن التخيل. لكن في مقابل هذا التفكير وصلنا إلى قناعة أن احنا قد نكون في دولة الإمارات محتاجين إلى مثل ما قالوا زملائي في البانل هني إلى وضع نظام يتأكد أن احنا عندنا مرونة في أن احنا نراجع خططنا حق ال50 سنة القادمة ونعدل عليها كل ما لزم الأمر. واحدة من المسائل اللي ممكن تدهشنا أن لو نزلنا اليوم للشارع وسألنا الأطفال شو نظرتهم لل50 سنة القادمة راح تكون مختلفة تماماً عما احنا نعتقده في الحكومة أو حتى كبالغين. حديث بيني وبين أحد أبنائي كان في مناظرة حول مسألة التعليم. كان يناقشني أن متى راح نطلع بنظام الولد أو مثلا الطالب يتعلم باستخدام اليوتيوب ما يروح للمدرسة، وهو يقول أنا أكثر تعلما من الوسائل اللي هي الإعلام الحديثة أكثر منها من المدرسة. هذه اليوم قناعة الطفل عندنا في العالم أنه هو ممكن يتعلم من مثلا من مشاهدة الفيديو أكثر من تعلمه من المدرسة. ما نقول صح ولا غلط، لكن نقول أن الأجيال القادمة تنظر بطريقة مختلفة تماما عن اللي احنا ننظر له. لذلك إذا بغينا نخطط للمستقبل لازم نتحرر من قيود اليوم، نتحرر من مشاكل اليوم، نتحرر من اللي هو قدرتنا على أن احنا نتخيل المستقبل. إذا أنا بقفل بحاجة أخيرة، أتخيل أن محتاجين حتى نكون حكومة مرنة تتعامل مع المستقبل ومع الصناعات القادمة بشكل خلنا نقول مرن. محتاجين نعيد النظر في آلية التعاون ما بين مؤسساتنا الحكومية ومؤسسات القطاع الخاص والقطاع المدني. محتاجين كذلك احنا نعيد النظر في كيف تعمل الحكومة في الهيكل الحكومي في دولة الإمارات. والنقطة الأهم أن كل التكنولوجيات الحديثة اللي قادمة لنا هي تكنولوجيات عابرة للحدود، عابرة للقارات، وبالتالي إذا فكرت دولة لوحدها أن تضع القيود وتضع الضوابط وتحمي نفسها راح تكتشف أن هي في النهاية دخلت في معركة خاسرة. لأن اليوم أبنائنا وإحنا نتلقى البرودكتس فيرتشوالي عبر الانترنت. كثير من الخدمات تحولت إلى خدمات رقمية مش خدمات مش سلع، وبالتالي قدرتنا على الحماية صارت صعبة. الآن العالم يتكلم ضمن المنظمات الدولية أن احنا محتاجين إلى نظام عالمي لحوكمة الثورة الصناعية الرابعة، مش نظام دول، هاي مسألة مهمة جدا. محتاجين إلى منصات كذلك عالمية لمعالجة هذه المسألة مش منصات دول. محتاجين أن احنا نرى المواطن كمواطن للعالم مش مواطن لدولة واحدة، وبالتالي ممكن أن نكون قادرين على الأقل أن احنا نتفاعل مع هذا التقدم بشكل جيد. شكرا جزيلا.
On that high note, we've reached the end of our discussion. I'd just like to thank the distinguished panelists once again and thank the audience once again for attending the UAE Public Policy Forum. Thank you very much.